r/AskReddit. What conspiracy theory do you fully believe is true? Netflix marketing team releases memes about shows to give off the appearance that everyone is watching said show. Since people have FOMO, they watch the shows to understand the memes until everyone eventually does watch it. I swear Disney does this as well. There is always some meme campaign happening before a major Marvel drop. See Tiger King, March 2020. I also feel that the Netflix top currently watched is BS, in a similar manner. For many years people were considered crazy for saying the government is spying on everything you do online. Then the leak started. As well as stating, I think my phone is tracking me. Now it's just supposed to be an accepted normal behavior. To be tracked and spied on. You sympathetic villain commented on a similar post years ago and I saved his comment because I thought it made a lot of sense. See below for the comment. American public education is purposely declining to promote consumerism and make a more subservient population. For example, public schools used to teach home economics, woodshop or auto shop. By cutting the budget for these programs, you're going to end up with adults who don't know how to cook, so they spend all their money at restaurants, so they spend all their money on clothes, have an understanding of how tools work and make small repairs, so they spend all their money on handymen or repairmen, or take care of their cars, so they spend all their money at car dealerships or auto shops, also getting ripped off because they are completely dependent on what the mechanic says instead of having their own pool of knowledge to draw from. Then you get to homework. We are teaching children and young adults it's okay to work all day at school, then do additional work at home. With so many companies changing to a salaried position, it's perpetuating that it's expected to do some work at home and to not get paid for it. After all, you did it your whole life with homework, so why should the workforce be any different? Edit. Thanks to everyone commenting. This is an incredible discussion and I've loved reading what everyone has posted. Edit. It was brought to my attention that having the ability to sew in order to make small repairs and alterations to clothing, reattaching a button, darning a sock, closing a tear, etc. is more of a money saver than actually making your own clothes from scratch. Thank you for pointing this out, Yusuf Olafo. Jill Dando was taken out by a hitman as she was about to blow the Savile case wide open. Lots of people in high positions didn't want Savile pointing fingers while he was still alive. The FBI murdered Fred Hampton. That is fact. In bed with his girlfriend shot like 900 times. Huge investment banks and hedge funds effectively close out the retail investor from taking advantage of stock movements. Never mind, that has recently been proved to be true. That the tobacco industry has driven the vape bans, also known as flavor bans, across the country by promising more money to states. There's this misconception that Big Vape is the same as Big Tobacco, and a lot of that has to do with Juul, who is owned by Altria. Juul didn't even start out as Altria, but they eventually bought it. When Juul wasn't owned by Altria, they had more teen ads, and while they were the choice of teens, they weren't explicitly targeted. Once Altria bought Juul, some funky shit went down. Juul ads began having more colorful and cartoonish ads, or what most people would classify as ads appealing to children. Every tobacco company has to do anti-smoking initiatives by law, and when Altria bought Juul, there were reports of reps doing those anti-smoking talks to teens, then advertising Juul when teachers looked away. The truth is owned by the tobacco companies. Anyone notice a difference between their old smoking ads and current vaping ads? Their old smoking ads were obnoxious AF, which is actually a tactic they've used for a while. By making their anti-smoking PSA obnoxious, fewer people would take them serious, causing less of a dent in their cigarette sales. Notice how most of the Truth's anti-vape ads aren't obnoxious? Best part is, long after Altria bought Juul, Juul was in a California court, and their attorney literally said, "Your Honor, can't you see that this is all a tactic by Big Tobacco to stop vaping to get their customers back? Juul is Big Tobacco. I can't help but feel they did that to make those of us seeing this shit sound crazy." In reality, many adult vapors actually use, or used since many states have made it so only pods are sellable. Refillable tanks instead of pods. Most vapes you find in gas stations and pods found around are owned by tobacco companies, and there's a massive quality difference. Using a gas station vape or pod feels no different to me than smoking, and I got respiratory infections like I did when smoking with them. On the other hand, most refillable liquids were made by small businesses, and many of those have zero interaction with tobacco. A lot of those get their nicotine from tomatoes and tea, not tobacco. So, Big Tobacco saw zero from small vape businesses. There's also a huge quality difference, in that I can feel my lungs healing from my years smoking with the small business, refillable juice, while the tobacco-owned pods make me feel like I'm reopening smoking wounds. The thing about the flavor ban is, a lot of us actually don't really care about flavors. Like, yeah, my coffee cheesecake is a nice bonus, but what I care more about is being able to breathe. Only the refillables do that for me. However, if there's no flavors, how can a business stay around? I mean, all they'd sell is tobacco flavor, and that's not enough to keep a small business open. That's what's so ironic about the flavor bans. Everyone says it's to hurt Big Tobacco, but in reality it's just given them a monopoly again. Only Big Tobacco can afford to only sell tobacco-flavored products. The small businesses we should be helping fight Big Tobacco have been closing down because they can't compete with Big Tobacco anymore, thanks to these laws. Then, a lot of area that banned flavors are seeing teens smoke traditional cigarettes again. Real smoking amongst teens was non-existent. Many people point to the teen smoking rate going up around 2017. Well, the reason it appears to have gone up is because our smoking and vaping statistics were rolled into one. In reality, the same amount of teens have used nicotine products for a while now, they just stopped smoking. But now that vaping is going away, because a flavor ban has effectively banned vaping, they are smoking again. It astounds me that the UK is pushing vaping as harm reduction alternative to smoking based on their own government-funded studies, yet our US FDA and CDC are trusting tobacco-funded studies that say vaping is equal or more harmful than smoking. Then what do the states get from this? More money. Vaping hadn't fallen under the traditional tobacco taxes, and they didn't give money for the Mazars Settlement Agreement, MSA. What MSA did was give states a certain amount of money for each pack of cigarettes sold. 50 cents per pack was the highest some states got, and if you look at the timelines, the states that got that much were the first to enact flavor bans, while states that got less dragged their feet. Which this all sucks, because I try to tell anyone anything positive about vape flavors, they think all I care about is a quick buzz. No, what I care about is having a safer alternative to improve my health. Smoking did a number on me, but I've actually gotten healthier after starting vaping. And thanks to refillable tanks, I've been able to titrate my nicotine to now where I've got 0.5 milligrams of nicotine per ml, and will be able to stop altogether in a month. That's not something you can do with traditional cigarettes or pods. Then people will tell me propaganda that easily verifiably falls from evidence-based studies or my own experience. I mean, I've actually told doctor that with the flavor bans, if all I can get are pods, a part of me feels like smoking again since it won't make a difference, and it's hilarious to see them go from, vaping is worse than smoking, to, wait. No, smoking so much worse, you shouldn't switch back. Most of all, what I don't understand is, smoking and vaping is 21 in the US now, like alcohol. Why does alcohol get to have flavors, but when vapes do it's considered too appealing to kids? How is flavored alcohol also not too appealing to kids? If 21 is good enough to allow alcohol flavors, why isn't it for vaping? The fight against flavor bans isn't about some fleeting pleasure, it's about being able to make more choices with our health, but then it takes away money from states and Big Tobacco. People who post on AskReddit are BuzzFeed writers looking for content. They are probably also those YouTubers who make videos reading Reddit posts. Ha 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 ha, 2 videos in a row. Interesting. Please expound on this idea, and also maybe provide 11 silly things that I may not know about the Illuminati. I'm torn between the government being completely aware of extraterrestrial contact and that the government is purposely leading people to believe that there's an extraterrestrial cover-up in order to cover up advanced technology testing. Operation Northwoods, where the Joint Chiefs of Staff conspired to destroy their own property, kill U.S. citizens in order to raise popular support for a war with Cuba. Thank God Kennedy nixed it. That all of those souvenir shops on prominent shopping streets in London, England are money laundering fronts. You know, the ones with a massive floor space selling key rings and knockoff hoodies that say TikTok or something yet have no customers except young male staff sat about on their phones? How on earth would a not very busy shop survive in Europe's most expensive retail space other than that? Also factoring in a global pandemic and a massive reduction in international tourists, who they're presumably aimed at, yet they show no signs of shutting down. They also all appear to be owned by the same person and stock the same merchandise. TLDR. Oxford Street souvenir shops are all money laundering premises. A few years ago, a huge amount of soap shops started appearing in my city. Fancy boutiques which sold luxury bars of soap. The staff were mainly people who didn't speak the language, and they hardly sold any products. A few months later, some crime syndicate got busted and poof, all soap shops were gone. It clarified that it was in my city, not London. Someone paid off someone, so there are no paprika-flavored potato chips in Lithuania in all major supermarkets but one. 3 months ago you could find it anywhere, and it was like the third or fourth most popular, I think. Is Lithuania worth visiting? Health insurance companies make mistakes on purpose to avoid paying claims. This is honestly one I made up myself, but I swear this is the truth. I've had bizarre glitches keep huge medical bills from being paid. I also think the rules are impossible to understand on purpose so that it is harder to get them to pay. That the art market is actually a huge money laundering scheme. I don't remember where I read this, but it said that kingpins and criminals will often buy paintings and sculptures for millions of dollars in order to make dirty money transactions legal. They have paintings made for cheap, have them appraised for lots of money, and ta-da. That there are people rich enough to disappear. There must be some billionaires we've never heard of. There are absolutely billionaires who made their money legitimately, so we've never heard of them. El Chapo was a billionaire, even though we have heard of him. Also, Vladimir Putin's worth like 70 billion, but I would imagine he's actually worth way more. Germany has one sort of like that. The richest man in the whole country, Dieter Schwartz, who owns Lidl, basically never makes any kind of public appearance. He's known for being very private. He's worth something like 50 billion. I think the trend where you show a picture of yourself now versus 10 years ago was promoted, if not invented, by Facebook-owned social media companies in order to train artificial intelligence to be able to recognize and analyze how faces age. Just like solving CAPTCHAs about crosswalks is helping train self-driving AI. I mean, wasn't it like 2019, so most of the pictures were from people's Facebook from 2009, so they probably could have looked them up anyways if they went far enough. They def do stuff like this, but I think they simply find people who joined 10 years ago and take their oldest and newest pictures. The Dom family meme was created as a PR stunt for the new Fast and Furious movie. Yeah, this occurred to me when I got invited to watch it, ironically. This is literally fact, no meme this, but why would be so prevalent. When I was in high school, my friends and I came up with this conspiracy theory between us, that the theater kids are covering up for something because they act like a cult and talk about the theater teacher like he is their personal Jim Jones. 2 years after graduating, I find out he has been arrested for sexually molesting his female students, and was only found out because he thought he could trust this freshman new theater kid, and started showing him all the naked pics he's taken with those girls. Kid turned around and reported him the next day. The other theater kids went on social media to defend their god anyway. Wow, it's so shitty to see how common this is. In case you're wondering if it's your school, it's PHS in Arizona with Mr. Werner Gerard as the pedo in question, and yes, he's in jail. Former theater kid here. It sometimes kind of is a cult. See, television shows purposely overplay the forensic capabilities of various law enforcement departments to help project an image of total competence. I actually had a class at uni where we just watched XE, and our lecturer would pause it every few minutes and ask us to find everything wrong in that scene, e.g. packing radioactive materials in plastic bags while wearing a hazmat suit, etc., getting data from equipment that doesn't even do what they say it does, etc. My car was broken into once and they sent someone to dust for fingerprints. They didn't find a single fingerprint. Not even my own. Since then I have called BS on all of those shows. Jeffrey Epstein did in fact not kill himself in his prison cell. As the cameras malfunctioned and the security guards were asleep, he was either killed by it or is still in fact alive somewhere on a beach in Aruba. The True Encrypt organization was bought off into suddenly ceasing operations to encourage other closed-source encryption alternatives with backdoors. If you follow InfoSec much, and know the type of people the True Encrypt devs were, the statements they released were very obviously meant as red flags to alert security experts that the True Encrypt project had been compromised and no information from the project should be trusted anymore. It also happened in the midst of other groups being forced to add backdoors to their security products.